Ian Pryor is Communications Director for American Crossroads, a Republican super PAC. It's great to have you both. Ian, those are high stakes. Do you see it in the same way?
Well, I think there are two issues here. First is the process issue. Is, appointing a Supreme Court justice now and going through the nomination hearings, is that going to be an election issue? You see polls that show 81% of Republicans don't want the nomination to go forward, 81% of Democrats want the nomination to go forward, and independents are split. So I think on the process issue, it's really a wash. I think the big issue is going to be, what do Americans want for the future of this Supreme Court? Do they want a liberal-leaning Supreme Court which breaks with the status quo where it is now, or do they want to continue to have a center-right Supreme Court that bases its decisions in the Constitution, not on political grounds?
And Leslie, that's why Hugh Hewitt says this is the issue that the Republicans have to double down, triple down on, because it will help them in this election cycle. What do you think?
Well, I think what we're seeing in the past couple of days, after other polls, like 53% of people who say across the board, according to Rasmussen, that they do not want the GOP to block, first of all. Second of all, that they do believe it is the president's obligation constitutionally to nominate someone, and the Senate doesn't have to approve that nomination, obviously. But we have people like Grassley, we have people like Tillis, and other Republicans who are backing down from that vow to block any nominee the president puts forth. And I think that's because they have seen the ramifications and how this could hurt the GOP. I had a Republican yesterday say that this is part of our government, one of our branches of government. This could be tantamount and be perceived as a government shutdown by the GOP once again.
So then the GOP falls into a familiar stereotype, Ian, of looking like obstructionists, of not looking like they're working towards a common goal. Is there a risk for the GOP to go too hard on this issue?
Well, I'd go back to 1968. Richard Nixon ran against a liberal Supreme Court. Abe Fortas and Thornberry, who was the other Supreme Court justice, their nominations were blocked. Richard Nixon won the election because he ran against a liberal Supreme Court. I think we can run against the possibility of a liberal Supreme Court that would be nothing more than a formality for a potential Democratic president to rubber stamp executive orders, as we've seen from this president, who uses executive orders to get around Congress. Is that something that America wants?
Okay, so Ian's bringing us back to 1968. I just want to bring us back to yesterday. Just a little bit to show, which is a good point, Ian, a fair point and a good one. Yesterday, Josh Earnest was talking about the president, because the president, as a senator, of course, supported the filibuster to stop Justice Alito from being confirmed. Of course, we know Justice Alito is now sitting on the Supreme Court. But just listen to Josh Earnest try to explain the president's position today versus his position in 2006.
He regrets the vote that he made because, frankly, as we've discussed, Democrats should have been in a position where they were making a public case. That's what Democrats should have done, and they shouldn't have looked for a way to just throw sand in the gears of the process. And frankly, looking back on it, the president believes that he should have just followed his own advice.
The same question could be asked as well for Democrats, Leslie. What's the risk to them about the nomination? Who is nominated, and how hard Democrats want to fight for that nomination as well?
Well, actually, this is like a chess game, so to speak, and President Obama has the next move. He could obviously nominate someone who is quite moderate, and that would put the Republicans in a precarious position. He could also nominate somebody that the liberals know that they would love and that Republicans definitely wouldn't go forward with. But this is his next move. Democrats might actually, more so than Republicans, come out en masse based on not just who the president nominates, but the reaction and the action or lack of action by the GOP after a nominee is named. And the president's very clear that he is going to be naming somebody. He is going to be nominated.
And that name will tell us a lot, whoever he decides to nominate in the future. We hope we have you both back to talk about that when we do have that name. Ian, Leslie, great to have you both. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Jenna.
Josh Earnest was squirming a bit on that.
It was a thoughtful response.